referring to as a fact believes corresponds to the nature of reality. Right? Now, when you assert that Moses doesn't exist because most people believe that he didn't exist, right, is a non sequitur. When you assert, do you know what a non sequitur is?
Not a clue. What's a non sequitur?
Okay, it's just fancy Latin meaning that does not follow. It does not logically and necessarily follow that because most people believe Moses did not exist, therefore Moses did not exist.
Well, the fact is that there's no evidence.
That's a non sequitur.
May I respond?
Yeah.
No, it's not a non sequitur because there is no evidence for the existence of Moses, and there's no evidence for the existence of the enslaved Jews in Egypt.
Okay.
None of that stuff. It's all just in the biblical text.
All right. Now, you are now slightly changing the topic. Now, I'm responding to the first issue, was that Moses did not exist in virtue of A. But now you're changing the subject to Moses did not exist because of B. Now, we need to address A first before we move on to B. Now, A was your statement, Moses did not exist because most people don't believe that Moses existed. Now, a non sequitur is a conclusion that does not necessarily follow. All right? So it is not necessarily the case that something is false because, and necessarily because many people believe it's false.
Okay, now I'll tell you where you fall flat. I said that Moses did not exist. There is no evidence for Moses. I never mentioned
that's topic B.
I haven't. You're interrupting me. I said that Moses did not exist. No, there is no evidence for Moses.
Right,
therefore, the rest of the mythology just falls to pieces and stays. In fact, the mythological jigsaw puzzle all falls into pieces, into
Sydney,
place.
What was your first line of reasoning why Moses did not exist?
That there's no evidence.
No, that's not the first thing you stated.
That is the first thing I said, and it doesn't really matter. That is the fact. Is that there is no evidence. It doesn't matter, Darth Dawkins. It matters not.
Sydney, that is the second semi-related topic that you brought up. Your first claim. You see, you're over-talking me. I asked you to give me
because you're lying. I don't want you to lie on my channel. This is a channel, an atheist channel. An atheist channel is truth.
Wait a minute. This is not live on air. This is a personal conversation.
No, this is live on air, buddy.
No, it's not. Unless you're recording it and planning on uploading it in the future. Now, the first thing you stated, I said, how do you debunk Christianity? And you said, because Moses never did exist, because that's what most people believe. That's what you stated.
No, I never.
Yes, you did, Sydney.
I said Moses did not exist. There is no evidence. It's all just a story from the scriptures.
That's the second line of reasoning you offered. No. Not the first.
Why would I offer two lines of reasoning without covering the first one first?
Did you say to me?
No, I told you what I said to you. I said to you that Moses is just a mythical figure. Did not exist.
Okay, Sydney.
Okay, that's where we start.
Your first line of reasoning entailed an appeal to what most people believe. That's the first thing that you said. The second line of reasoning that you offered when I questioned you about your first line of reasoning was to invoke topic B, which was there's no evidence for Moses. Right? Now, I'm glad to discuss topic B, that there's no evidence for Moses. But that's not the first thing that you brought up. The first thing you brought up was that Christianity is debunked because everyone recognizes, and I assume that you weren't being literal, you're being hyperbolic to refer to a large number of people. That many people believe that Moses never existed. That was the first thing you raised, Sydney. Right?
So what is the big crime that you're trying to unveil here?
Okay. If you come to a conclusion, then the conclusion must necessarily follow. Right? If the conclusion does not necessarily follow, then you can't use the argument as an argument. If it's possible that it could be right and it's possible it could be wrong, you can't use it as a logically necessary argument. So your first line of reasoning was that Christianity is debunked in virtue of the fact that everyone, and I'm quoting you, that everyone believes that Moses never existed.
Okay.
Now, you stated that.
Okay, so you said you're prepared to go to the second point. Let's go to the second point.
No, I want to resolve the first point.
Okay, let's resolve the first point. All right, go.
Okay.
We will.
Is the
as
conclusion-
a guest on my show, I will.
Is the conclusion?
That. Thank you.
Is the conclusion that Christianity is debunked, logically necessary in virtue of that a large number of people have a belief that Moses didn't exist?
No, everybody who knows that Moses didn't exist knows he didn't exist. It's not a belief system.
Okay. All right. Now, it doesn't. Okay. You stated that everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is a subset of belief. Okay.
I don't accept that without a little bit more explanation.
Oh, okay. If you were to draw a circle, and everything inside the circle would be called a belief, knowledge would be a subset or a circle within the circle of belief. It is a belief, and this is something that is generally accepted, although some people will attempt to dispute it. But it's generally accepted that knowledge would be a belief that is true and that is in actuality justified. In other words, the causal chain of reasoning actually connects.
Okay. Now, just can I make an analogy? Isn't that not the same as evolution is true, but some people choose to not believe it? Same thing.
Well, you could attempt to argue for that.
Well,
but that with the subject we're talking about right now. Now, when you say people know that Moses never existed,
mm-hmm.
you're then going to have to provide support that what you claim as knowledge is actually true and that it's justified as true.
Sure.
Okay, so that statement alone, merely saying everybody knows that Moses didn't exist,
yes,
does not justify itself. So you're going to have to offer another premise, because your first line of reasoning, please don't overtalk me. Your first line of reasoning, quote, Christianity is bunked in virtue of the fact that everybody knows that Moses never existed. Well, that conclusion that you've reached contains an unsupported premise that the belief that Moses never existed is true and that it's justified. So now that's topic B. You're going to have, in order for topic A to even stand, you're going to have to support that it is true that Moses never existed and that belief that everyone has is that they have an actual path of justification.
All right.
Who left?
No one.
It was just me. I was just switching devices.
Oh. All right. Yeah, I'm not ignoring you. Hi, Sugar.
Hey, Sugar.
Hi there. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring you either. I was just listening.
Okay. So you're going to have to, in order to make your reasoning of line of reasoning A to stand, you're going to have to support that their belief is true and that it's justified.
Okay.
That Moses never existed.
Okay. All right. Here goes. So, everybody who believes that Moses did exist believes it because they were told that Moses exists. They have not actually been shown any specific evidence that Moses exists, like they have been shown evidence of other figures that existed throughout history. Hold on, I haven't finished yet, and I didn't want to interrupt you, and I don't expect to be interrupted. So, if throughout history people were told or had a way to reason for themselves based on the evidence whether or not Moses existed, it would have been obvious to them that Moses did not exist. And if they had been told this fact right from the very beginning, they would have known that Moses did not exist. So the fact that they were told the wrong information from the very beginning doesn't negate the fact that they know that Jesus does not exist. They were just following the leader and sort of being part of the peer pressure. Yeah, okay, Jesus exists. Yeah, sure, there's no evidence. But there is no evidence, and since there's no evidence, you've got to be on the side of the no evidence. No evidence for Jesus, therefore no Jesus. No evidence for God, therefore no God. The outcome of the universe would appear. Hold on, one more thing. One more thing. Just give me one more thing. The universe. Just one more thing. The universe would appear exactly the way it does today if there were no God. I'm done.
Okay. When you say Moses did not exist because there's no evidence, the oral and written tradition that is passed on by the Jews, and given what we know about their chronicling of their history, has been very meticulous in terms of not only its recording, but in terms of it passing on. Now, you can choose not to accept the oral and specifically the written communication of eyewitness testimony as being fabricated, but you're not at liberty to say that it is not included as evidence. You can choose to attack its credibility, but when you say there's no evidence, such as the Old Testament, right, then you're just speaking, and I don't mean this as an insult. You're speaking out of complete ignorance. Now,
well, not really.
Well, yeah, I'll explain why, Sugar. Right?
I have a response.
Because all we need for something to be evidence is that there was alleged eyewitnesses. Now, whether we accept the evidence as persuasive or not persuasive is another issue. For example, I could introduce something as a piece of evidence in a criminal case. Whether I am let me give you an example, Sugar. I want you to imagine you and I are sitting on a jury, and there's a murder case, and a husband is on trial for, let's say, killing his wife, right? And she was stabbed to death. And the prosecution introduces the bloody knife, and the husband's fingerprints are on the knife. That is evidence that is introduced, and it cannot be denied. But what can be said is whether there is a causal, rational chain between the fingerprints and the murder is another issue. The Hebrew scriptures and the oral traditions that have been meticulously passed on based upon what we know among the Jews throughout the centuries is certainly evidence about Moses, whether or not you consider that evidence to have causal relations in terms of Moses actually existing. So when you, Sydney, when you state that there's no evidence, you're just being absurd. What you should be saying, you should be making a more modest claim, is to say that the evidence that is presented for Moses is to be discredited for such and such reasons. Okay? But when you say there's no evidence of Moses existing, you just make yourself look silly, because you're going to have to support or discredit the evidence that has been brought forth as being unworthy, or that
This is true.
there are other, but you haven't done that so far.
I understand. You know why? Because there is no evidence to bring forth. That's the thing. That's the whole idea. There's no evidence to bring forth for Moses. There's other than the concept and the idea, and then the like you say, the oral history, and then it written down to some extent.
Right.
But that's it. There's no evidence. There's no evidence that this dude actually existed, other than in the oral history of ancient people. That's it.
Now you're changing your tune.
Oh, am I really?
Yeah, you did. Because
Well, we're
now,
allowed to change our tune. We're allowed to realize if we agree with something, or if we change our mind, we're allowed.
That's fine.
We shouldn't be, lambasted for that.
What I'm trying to point out, Sugar, is that now he has changed his position. The position used to be there is no evidence for Moses, but now what he did was he stated that other than the Hebrew scriptures and the oral tradition,
Hello, Jack.
outside of that, there is no evidence. Okay?
Yeah,
So
I'm going to go. Have a good day, guys. Sorry.
All right,
Okay.
see you later, Sugar.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Why is he saying you can't have your cake and eat it too? I didn't catch
Hold
that.
on, let me turn his microphone down.
I debunked Christianity, and he's having a bit of a conniption about it.
But what exactly is he saying? Why you can't have your cake and eat it too?
Well, I said that Moses didn't exist. Moses is just a mythical figure. We all know that. It's accepted. And as a result of that, anything that follows after that is also mythical. So that includes, the whole Judaism and the whole Christian and Islam and everything. It's all just based on myth.
Sydney, did you want to continue the conversation with me?
Do you have the join link, Sydney? Because Realistic Nihilist...
Sydney, did you want to continue the
Oh,
conversation?
Absolutely.
Jack, you're really breaking up. Sydney, you never did address the law of biogenesis.
Hold on a second, Christian Hillbilly. Sydney, did you want to
join
continue the conversation between you and me uninterrupted?
This is
Sydney?
a community panel, so we all should have a choice. We all should have a chance to talk.
Well, Sydney, let's not act like we're 12-year-old kids here, okay? You know exactly what's going on here. Now, either you want to continue the one-to-one conversation between you and me, or you don't. Which is it, Sydney?
Can I get the join link, Sydney?
Sure. Would you like me to send it to?
Or wherever, any platform.
Okay, Sydney, I asked you a question.
I'll put it in right in here
Okay.
in the
All right,
inside
Sydney,
chat. Okay.
since you're being just simply rude when I'm speaking to you,
Well, I'm
I
being
conclude you don't want to continue
I'm letting
the
you talk.
one-to-one conversation. Have a nice day, Sydney.
Bye bye, Darth. Welcome, Christian Hillbilly. You're up.
Are you going to go ahead and address biogenesis?
Firstly, you tell us what it's all about, and then we'll address it.
I've done that several times, sir. Life comes from life. There you go. Deal with it.
What's it to deal with? I'm sorry. Life comes from life. That's a simple statement that is quite obvious. And what there's nothing to deal with. I agree with you. Fair enough. What else?
How do you make that equate in your evolutionary mindset? Since life only comes from living matter, that does away with your evolutionary mindset. That blows your evolutionary religion out of the water, Sydney. So how do you deal with that, sir?
So what you're saying is evolution is a religion, correct?
I just asked you a question, sir.
I'm trying to clarify your position on evolution. Is it a religion according to you?
Sir, I asked you how you can equate your position to the facts. How do you make your false position that life had to have come from non-living matter, that's what you have to believe, believing in evolution, versus the facts that show us that life only comes from living organisms? How do you deal with that, sir?
You asked me about biogenesis. I agreed with you. How does that in any way provoke an argument and a discussion that entails in any fashion whatsoever that me and you disagree?
Sir, do you even understand what evolution declares?
Evolution has a declaration? What is it?
Yes, it does.
What is it?
It declares that all things, the way Darwin actually stated it, that all living organisms had to come from a common ancestor and increase in information and complexity throughout time to where we are today, to where we might be going sometime in the future.
So evolution is a fact.
Do you agree with the statement I just made, sir, about evolution and common ancestry?
That statement.
Common ancestry, sir, and that's what Darwin taught.
Yes, that statement shows that evolution is true. Correct?
No, sir. I'm asking you, do you agree with the statement of common ancestry?
Why does it not show that evolution is correct? Why does it show that evolution is a lie?
Do you not understand the question, sir, about common ancestry? Are you in
no,
agreement with Darwin's theory of common ancestry, sir?
Can you explain it to me first, so I can make a judgment if I agree?
No, sir, I won't explain it to you. If you don't understand it, you need to learn.
What about for all the people that are watching, or those that don't, or those that are in here that don't understand it? You're in.
Thanks, ma'am. How are you streaming this?
OBS.
What is it?
OBS?
Not sure what that is.
It's an encoder.
Okay.
That bypasses the YouTube encoder instead of the YouTube encoder, I use a third-party encoder. Well, Down Corner, welcome, Down Corner. Darth Dawkins, he ran away like a coward. Christian Hillbilly ran away like a coward. And I think all the Christians are fucking cowards, every single one of them.
Well, you see the video link I sent you where Jim removed me after about 3 minutes from his hangout?
No. Jim was in here. He's more than welcome to come back. He just removed himself because he was losing.
Yeah, but this is the double standard. So the fundies will remove us, but then we let them speak as long as they want.
That's why we have the hangouts and they come into our hangouts.
Exactly.
And to be honest, I don't watch his hangouts so that his message doesn't get to me unless it comes into my hangout and tells me. And that's what I think everybody should do. Ignore the fundies. If you want to listen to the fundies, come into my hangout and listen to them. Don't listen to them in their hangout because they have a huge bias and their moderation is very unimpartial. And I claim the opposite.
He talked about his view, stating that something living cannot come from nothing. And so I asked him again and again. I said, well, Jim, then how did something dead come from Jesus when Jesus raised the zombies? And then I said to him again, I said, well, how did your God come from nothing then? And he doesn't like that question ever. because
did he say he rage quits or he doesn't answer it, or what does he do?
no, he removed me when I asked him that,
Oh, yeah.
which is even worse than rage quitting.
Yeah, it shows the fakery. It's all fakery. That's all it is. Realistic. You should be shown in the broadcast, huh?
Yeah, I'm showing. Yeah, I'm showing broadcast. I just
Oh, it looks like Christian has left the hangout. He's left the group, I should say.
We've had several arguments with him. He can never justify his views.
Well, I've got a lot of his arguments. If you want to have an argument or a discussion with Christian Hillbilly, I have a lot of it recorded, which you could actually have a discussion with, because I've pointed out and I've bookmarked a lot of the absurd sayings he makes, so we could just jump to them, take each one in turn, and ridicule them or humiliate him or whatever it turns out to be.
What are you looking to get from this hangout?
I'm looking to not get anything from this hangout, but I'm looking to give something from this hangout.
Oh, what are you looking to give?
This is an atheist-friendly platform where we don't have silly debates about things that are not even debatable. For example, evolution, which is a fact. It's not a debatable subject. Why waste time?
I think there's some debate about at least some mechanisms of evolution.
There might be, but there might be the debate is lulzy. In the bottom line, it's a lulzy debate because evolution is a fact. Not that there's anything wrong with lulzy, but I'm just not in the mood.
Well, I think that there's debate amongst evolutionists about the mechanisms of evolution.
Mm-hmm, no doubt. But the fact of evolution is not debatable.
What do you mean by the mechanism of evolution? What are you talking about?
Well, I know, for example, like I don't believe in natural selection, but I believe in the theory of universal common ancestry.
There's a universal common ancestor. That sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Why?
How can there be a universal common ancestor when there's so many different genes in you, from Neanderthal to Homo, whatever it is.
Homo sapiens sapiens.
You're asking me to explain the theory of evolution to you?
I'm asking you to explain how there's one common ancestor. I didn't say the theory of evolution.
Well, I think it's a theory of evolution by a common descent.
You're giving credence to the whole Adam and Eve story. That's bullshit.
Nah, man.
What Adam and Eve story? Who's bringing up the Adam and Eve story?
When people say stuff like we have one common ancestor, then you have people like Jim that jump on board and say, well, sir, that's proof of Adam and Eve.
Well, you know, Richard Dawkins put it best in a lecture that I watched of his yesterday. He was basically talking about his book, The Greatest Show on Earth, and he is explaining that if you were to walk back through your lineage, let's say your matrimonial lineage, you'll walk, every time you walk back and see your predecessor or your predecessor's predecessor, and so on, they won't look much different. But if you walk back far enough, they'll look totally different. And if you walk back far enough, you'll be a fish. And if you turn around,
I'm sorry, but I don't use Wikipedia.
hold on a second. Let me finish. And if you turned around and walked forwards along the path of a chimpanzee and not the human being, you'll be able to see the gradual changes over time if you could speed it up. And if you walked along the path of a rhinoceros, you'd see the same changes from the fish over time. It's just so we do have a common ancestor. I'm convinced.
Why don't you use Wikipedia?
Because it's not a reliable source. Go read Rob Beasley's book, and you'll find out why it's not a reliable source.
What makes you think that it's not reliable?
Okay, I'm not gonna debate this with you. Clearly, you don't know how publications work and how sources work.
I asked you a question.
And I just gave you an answer.
No, there doesn't have to be a debate, right? I asked you a question. The question is, why is it not reliable? You answering that question doesn't imply a debate.
It is not a reputable source. It's not reliable.
I'm asking why you're saying that.
Because it's a fact.
No, I'm asking why you think it's a fact.
Okay, go troll somebody else. Seriously, I'm not going to play these games with you.
Asking you to justify your claims is not trolling you.
I've justified it 3 different ways for you right now. Okay, I'm not going to go into more discussion about this.
You never justified it once. You just reasserted the claim.
Okay, it is not a reputable source. Who is the author of this article? What's their name?
I don't know.
Thank you. Now shut the fuck up. It's not a reputable source.
But that doesn't mean it's not reputable.
Okay, well, fuck then. The Bible must be very reputable. We don't know who the fuck wrote that, but fuck.
What are you talking about?
Let's apply the same logic that you want to apply Wikipedia.
You don't even know what logic I'm applying. I asked you a question.
Any source in which you can't verify who the author is has got to be super reliable.
Do you have to
beautiful?
Do you have to know the author of some book for the book to be reliable?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's pretty important.
Why would I accept that? Let's say the theory of relativity was published anonymously. Would that all of a sudden make the theory of relativity unreliable just because it was published anonymously?
If it was published anonymously, then it wasn't published by Einstein, so I'd say yes.
What are you talking about? I'm saying if Einstein, instead of publishing it publicly, published it anonymously.
Nobody would publish that anonymously. You're not making any sense.
That doesn't answer the question.
Yes, it does. It wouldn't happen.
I don't see why that would be true. Do you want me to look up scientific findings that were published anonymously?
Okay, anybody and every fucking moron on the internet can contribute to Wikipedia, and they can change it and make it say whatever the fuck they want. You are a fucking moron if you think that's a reputable source. That because the whole world, from fucking Timbuktu to fucking Ghana, where Ibn is at, and all these fucking monkeys can just put in whatever the fuck they want, and then you will eat it up. And they've already done a study on this before. They had somebody who put up a fake Wikipedia, and a fucking news media outlet picked it up and read a story on what the Wikipedia said. Give me a fucking break. Fuck off. It's not a reliable source.
Look, it's reliable. What if the claims in Wikipedia are backed up by reliable resources?
Good for you, dude. I want to see how far you get in the academic community using Wikipedia as your source. I'd love to see this shit.
I asked you a question.
How many research papers have you published? I asked you a question.
No, you didn't, but I'll answer that question.
Okay.
Published 0 research papers.
How many research papers have you written? How many have you written?
0.
Okay, thank you. Now shut the fuck up and leave me alone.
How is that relevant? How is that relevant?
When you do a research paper, you have to do a literature review. In that literature review, you are picking primary sources.
What does that
Wikipedia is not a primary source.
What does that have to do with my skepticism? You said Wikipedia is unreliable, right? And I asked you what justifies that claim.
I have given you 5 examples already. If you aren't able to hear what I'm saying, then I'm done discussing this with you. Go fucking troll somebody else.
You don't know how to reason. You're unreasonable. Sydney, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I can't really say I do. Could you go over that again?
Well, he's claiming that Wikipedia is an unreliable resource, and I'm asking why it's unreliable.
Oh, I'll answer that for you then.
Hold on a second. This guy's a fucking moron. Now he's
Hold on.
mistaken.
I agree that. Hold on a second, down. I agree that Wikipedia is an unreliable resource. However,
Not resource. I said source. It's
okay,
an unreliable source.
unreliable source. Okay, however,
Resource is okay. Not, it's as a source. As a source, it's unreliable.
as a source. However, it's as reliable as the links, the references that are pasted in
So there are
the
instances
Wikipedia article.
Right, but what you're saying there is that Wikipedia can cite reliable sources, and thereby, when those claims are cited in Wikipedia, they are also reliable, right?
I don't know. It depends on what source they're citing.
Exactly, it depends on the references that are being cited. It's not
Yeah,
on Wikipedia itself.
You can't just assume that it's fucking reliable because it's linked somewhere. I mean, that's fucking moronic as well.
I didn't make any assumptions.
Yes, you did. You did this right now. You don't listen to what you say before you say it, and that's why it's so frustrating to talk to you.
You didn't even understand what I was fucking saying. I
fully understood what you were saying. I fully understood everything you said right now. The problem is you don't understand what the fuck you're saying.
You're so stupid. You can't even follow a conversation. Just because I asked you a question doesn't mean I believe anything. Why? See, you came in thinking that I'm some sort of, because I cited something about universal common answer.
You asked me the same question 5 times, 5 different ways. I answered it. I answered with multiple fucking examples, and you would not fucking listen to what I was saying.
Look, do you think that the Wikipedia page about general relativity is wrong?
I think that there's lots of stuff in there that's probably wrong because Einstein didn't fucking write it. If I want to know about the theory of relativity, I would go to fucking source. I would go to what Einstein fucking wrote about it. I won't go to fucking Wikipedia.
I asked you if you thought that the Wikipedia article was false about general relativity.
Fuck would I know? I haven't been to the Wikipedia article. What part of it? Now let's go to the Wikipedia article.
So what you're saying is that you don't know whether or not Wikipedia reliably reproduces Einstein's theory of general relativity, do you?
I don't know because I don't go to Wikipedia.
Right, so you don't know then if Wikipedia is a reliable source.
Okay, you know what? I want to see you go. I want to see you go to an academic conference and use Wikipedia as a source. Please do.
You just said it yourself.
People will fucking laugh at you. People will laugh at you because you're
saying it yourself. You just said it yourself. You don't know.
People will laugh at you because you are a fucking moron. You will never be established in any academic field. So you belong on the internet as a permanent armchair intellectual. Congratulations. Be a fucking.
I don't understand what your point is. Did you have some point?
Exactly. There is no point. Live in your little fucking fantasy world. You will never be anything. You are worthless.
Jesus, I don't understand what the fuck this has. What relevance this has. Pointing out that
because you're the guy that is the infinite knowledge from Wikipedia.
How is pointing out that I'm not an academic justify your claim?
Because my whole claim depends upon academics. If you're going to do research, you academically have to cite a reputable source.
But pointing out that I'm not citing a reputable source is not, or pointing out that I'm not an academic isn't pointing out that Wikipedia isn't.
You will never be an academic if you use Wikipedia. That's the point I'm making. So you're holding yourself back. Congratulations.
That doesn't mean that Wikipedia is unreliable.
Hold yourself back. Enjoy your life.
You can cite papers that have false data. People do it all the time.
Yeah, I know it happens all the time, especially after this.
When they criticize
paper that goes through a very strict peer review process.
Criticize scientific literature. They
goes through a very strict peer review process. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So, minute, guys, I appreciate if you wouldn't mute each other. Seriously,
I never muted him.
I know.
So
I understand that, but down specifically, then I appreciate if you guys wouldn't mute each other.
So when they criticize scientific papers, they're citing a specific author. That doesn't mean that the author is reliable just because they're cited. So pointing out that there are citations of specific authors is irrelevant. The question that you need to justify...
It's not irrelevant. It depends on the fucking source they cite. Now you're saying all sources...
Listen, you never answered my question. So
I'll tell you what. Why don't Jack finish up? Let me know and if you want to respond, down, and then when Jack's done, you jump in and you respond until you're done.
Right. So I'm asking if Wikipedia reliably produces the theory of general relativity, and if
You know what? Wikipedia is the most reliable source ever. End of discussion. It is an excellent source. Please continue to use it and have a good life. Okay.
I never said that.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me see if I
You win
can.
the discussion. It's over.
Let me see if I can. I can sort of. Somebody in the side chat. Who was it? Grim V. He said, and he's quite right. He says a resource and a source are two different things. And this is what I think that Down Corner is trying to convey, although he's not being very calm about it, and that's why it's kind of being misunderstood. So we got to take that into account. Now, Wikipedia is a source, like it's a sort of a central gathering point, maybe, right, of stuff. Some of it true, some of it not true, irrelevant, depending on the reference. If it's referencing a peer-reviewed university dissertation or whatever, that's one thing. If it's referencing, religious news today, that's another thing, right? So it depends on the references. It's got nothing to do with Wikipedia itself.
Again, so that's fine. All you're saying is you agree with me that sometimes Wikipedia is reliable.
Okay.
And all I mean when I say reliable source is that you can get information that's justified from Wikipedia.
I disagree. I think if you're going to mention the word Wikipedia instead of Wikipedia, you should mention the actual reference source from Wikipedia.
Look, I don't understand why that's relevant. Is it all of a sudden not justified just because it's on Wikipedia?
Yes. Because the reference source might be religious news of Western Canada, right? Which is very biased and it's not a trustable source on its own.
I agree.
That's why.
I agree that there can be poor sources on Wikipedia, but when I say Wikipedia is reliable, I'm saying you can get accurate information if you just read Wikipedia. And
I already said that Wikipedia is a resource. Nobody debated that. What world are you in?
I don't know the distinction that you're making between source and resource.
Well, you know what? Go take a graduate level.
I don't either.
Hold on a second. Go take a graduate level course in research methods and then get back to me because I'm not getting paid to fucking educate you.
Okay, I'll be right back after I've taken my graduate course. Just hang on a moment.
Just tell me what the distinction between a source and a resource is.
I'm not playing this game with you. Change the topic.
Just tell me what the distinction is. It shouldn't be that difficult.
It's talking to you. It's incredibly difficult.
Do you know what the distinction between a source and a resource is?
No, I don't.
Neither do I. And so I'm asking him because I was using them. I
could pick up one of those green books at the library from the reference section that used to list every single magazine pertaining to a certain subject. I would flip through it and it had an index. That is a resource. Wikipedia is the same fucking way. It's a resource. And it's actually not even that good of a resource, but I'd still call it a resource because it does list certain things that people have written about. There you go. Why is that so fucking hard to understand?
So a source, what is a source?
A source is an actual body of information that supports a claim you're making. It's what you use in a literature review. You're surveying the literature. It's part of the literature. That is a source. A resource is not part of the literature. I would not cite the fucking big green book that I use to find hundreds of magazine articles. It's a resource.
Right. So when you said Wikipedia is not a reliable source, that's irrelevant because what I was pointing out when I gave you the Wikipedia link for the last universal common ancestor, whether it's a source or a resource is irrelevant. The whole point I was pointing out is that you can get reliable information.
No, it is very relevant because you don't want to treat it as a source, and that's what you're doing. You're trying to treat it as a source instead of a resource.
Mr. Grimvee, he said it again. A source is where it comes from originally.
I don't understand why. So if a resource reproduces the same information as a source, is the resource all of a sudden unreliable because it's not the source?
Yeah, the resource is unreliable because it's not
What
the
the
source.
fuck are you talking about? It's this.
That's exactly it. Why don't you understand it? Exactly what you said.
Fucking retarded. It implements the same justification.
No, it's not. Let me give you an example. For example, let's say your resource is something on I don't know, something scientific. If you go to the Harvard Library, for example, chances are that that resource, the Harvard Library, is a pretty good resource, and the sources you find there are going to be very reliable. But if your resource is, the Library of Scientology, for example, then the sources that you find on there are also probably not going to be very reliable. That's the best analogy that I can come up with.
Or your resource is a library of Pat Robertson's 700 Club.
Look, I asked you a specific
Yeah,
question.
exactly.
I asked you specifically was that whether or not you think Wikipedia accurately reproduces the theory of general relativity.
The Wikipedia is a resource. So if you go to Wikipedia, let me finish.
That's fine, Sydney. I agree.
But
whatever.
I understand that. So if you go to the Wikipedia resource, and you what you do is you try to see, okay, the theory of relativity. You go to all the sources that have been referenced to come to the conclusion for the article, and then you can reference each one, or you can link to each one of those and make a decision.
As long as one of those sources is the actual scientific paper that Einstein himself presented and had published, that's fine. But you're going to find shit that's not Einstein's actual work on there. This is the problem with
I'm just asking if you think that it reliably reproduces the theory of general relativity, and you said that you don't know. So in that instance,
and I still don't know because I'm not going to bother wasting my fucking time on Wikipedia. So what I will do is I will go to the actual article myself from Einstein, and I'll find it myself. Why the fuck am I going to use some middleman to fucking tell me how the fuck it is when I can go straight to the source? You're not making any sense.
Look, I can give you tons of scientific publishers that use Wikipedia as a resource. It's not that big a fucking deal. I mean, I can bring scientist Sam into this. Find
me one academic article that has Wikipedia as a source that's cited.
Maybe it doesn't have Wikipedia as a source, but that doesn't mean that Wikipedia.
You just said that you could. You just said you could. So find me one.
I didn't say Wikipedia was a source. I don't think Wikipedia is.
You just said that there are people who cite it. So find me one from a peer-reviewed journal.
I can tell you, people can find
me one paper from a peer-reviewed journal.
Will you calm the fuck down, you fucking asshole?
No, I want you to answer your question and provide an example.
Your fucking shit down.
I'm giving you a chance to give an example.
You didn't even fucking listen to what I said.
I heard what you said. Give me an example of what you said now.
What did I say?
Do you even know what you said? You said
that. I know what I said. You don't know what I said.
Okay, well, I can't even answer your question. You said
one specific person I had in mind. There was a specific person I had in mind who all he does is he's a publisher. He's a scientific publisher, and that's what I was talking about.
Find me the paper that he has that was published in a peer-reviewed journal or an academic journal.
He doesn't have papers that are published.
Okay, well, then I'm not interested in looking at anything he's written.
I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. You're so fucking insane. It's
ridiculous. You're bringing up the theory of relativity.
Listen, let's just get back on the fucking topic because you
physics is a science.
You're so
physics
stupid
is a hard science.
You changed the topic, right?
If I'm going to evaluate a hard science, I'm not going to pick up. I'm not going to pick up some fucking third-rate publisher guy. I want to go to the source.
I'm not gonna. Sydney, let me talk to you because I'm not going to talk to this asshole anymore. He's completely unreasonable. So I'm going to address you. All right, Sydney?
All right.
All right. Listen, what you said is that Wikipedia can have reliable sources, right? That's what you said. Wikipedia can use reliable sources.
No, I never said that at all.
So you said that if someone cites a scientific paper in Wikipedia and you check that paper and that paper has accurate information, you're saying that that's not a reliable source?
If I go to Wikipedia and it has an article on multiple universes or multiverse or whatever, right? And it has a reference at the bottom to a source or multiple sources for the conclusions that the writer comes up with. And I go to each one of those and I read, and I also follow the sources for the article that I'm reading, and I do my due diligence on everything. Okay. If I've started my search using Wikipedia and its source is a highly regarded source, I mean, for that particular article, then I'm confident that I'm going to get a pretty good explanation of what it is that I'm looking for. If the source is biased, then of course I'm not confident. But then that's not Wikipedia's fault. That's why Wikipedia is not. It's not. You can't say Wikipedia is reliable or unreliable. It's not the Harvard University library, and it's not the Scientology library. You can't just say Wikipedia is really anything.
That's why I was saying that you can't cite it. Okay, it cannot be cited because it's a resource.
I agree.
I don't understand why you can't cite resources, but nevertheless, I fucking cited a source to you, a source that talks about universal common ancestry, which is how we got on this in the first fucking place. And you're so stupid that you think that me using universal common ancestry has anything to do with Adam and Eve. And you're so fucking ignorant that you didn't know that that's the language that's used when talking about evolutionary biology all the fucking time. Right, you're a fucking total moron. But nevertheless, I cited you a fucking source so that we could get onto that. But that's besides the point, Sydney. All I'm saying is that you can get reliable information from Wikipedia, right? And then you're saying that if you find some piece of information on Wikipedia and that's sourced, and then you find that source to be reliable, then you're initially getting the information from Wikipedia, which is what I'm saying.
You're getting the information from the source, not from Wikipedia.
Where does Wikipedia get their information from?
Just like that green book at the library. That's a resource. It's just like Wikipedia. The green book is not giving me the information.
Get information from resources? What the fuck is the matter with you?
You sound very upset.
Do you get information from resources or not?
This is this is really going over your head right now. A database would be a resource as well.
Do you get information from resources or not?
No, you get the information from the source itself.
So reliable transference of data from a resource or from source to resource to you is not getting information?
I don't cite the database. I cite the actual source, period. You don't cite Wikipedia. You cite the source.
I don't understand the reason not to cite Wikipedia if you can get true information from Wikipedia. Do you think that there are true claims?
So Wikipedia is going to guarantee that the quote they have that they pulled from a source is 100% accurate all the time from every single source they have on there, right?
You can get true information from Wikipedia.
Okay, that sounds absolutely moronic. If I'm going to do any research,
question. Do you think that you can get true information from Wikipedia?
No, because it comes from
fucking moron.
Because Wikipedia is not a source; it's a resource.
How do people get this stupid, baby? How does this work?
Hi, Down.
Yeah, Sydney. Did you not already agree with me on this too?
Yeah, I don't understand why he's getting.
You don't think the propositions on Wikipedia are true?
Hold on a minute. You asked Down a question. He was in the middle of answering it, and because he said no instead of yes, you fucking blew up on him.
Right,
why don't you let him qualify his answer?
No, I've already. I'm not gonna even respond anymore because now it's getting to the point where he wants. He's kind of playing like Jim.
I don't fucking know why I'm in here. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
Yeah, one sec though. I want to say something, Sydney. He's kind of playing like Jim, where he wants us to say what he wants us to say. He doesn't want to hear what we have to say. He only wants.
You said no when I asked you the question if you can get true information from Wikipedia. That's fucking insane.
I agree with Down Corner that
you can't get true information from Wikipedia.
You can't reliably get true information from Wikipedia.
That wasn't the question.
And you can't get true information from Wikipedia unless you have a reference that is a reference that's in good faith. Okay, no, you can't say from Wikipedia I can get good information because from good.
the question that was asked wasn't about the reliability. It was just truth.
Okay, Sydney and I both heard the question. Now you're trying to re-quantify it. So I'm not going to play I'm not going to play a game of semantics with you. Okay, we're done with that.
No, it wasn't a semantic game. You guys added in reliable. I don't know why you were misrepresenting.
If I went to Scientology, would it be reliable? It's like the Library of Scientology as a source.
I don't see how that's relevant to the fact that reliable was the first question.
Yeah, is a Library of Scientology a resource?
The question wasn't, can you get information reliably from Wikipedia? The question was, can you get true information from Wikipedia?
It's not
What's
from
the
Wikipedia,
answer?
No. So no, it's not from
Answer to that question.
Well, you can get true information from the National Enquirer. So what's the point of what is the point of your question?
But so then your answer to the question is yes, right?
No, my answer would still be no, because it's a resource. Wikipedia is not there to provide the information. It's there to give links to sources.
What you're saying is
What the
is
fuck?
that what you're saying is that everything that is on Wikipedia is false, right? Every single thing that's on Wikipedia is actually
You
false.
don't. Sydney already clarified this. You don't evaluate a resource. You evaluate a source.
Are you saying that every single proposition expressed on Wikipedia is a false proposition? Or
Yes and no.
true?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because you evaluate a resource. You do not evaluate a resource. You look at the
Sydney,
source.
are all propositions on Wikipedia false?
Now we're playing the game of semantics, because we've gone from reliable to proposition. You just threw the word proposition in there before as well. So now we got three different heads. We got realistic's little fucking play toy saying one thing. We got him saying one thing, and now we got you saying a third thing.
Now it's
claim. So now we've got the proposition to claim.
Proposition and a claim are synonyms. Proposition and claim are synonyms.
Okay, now we're putting semantics. I'll say it again. Wikipedia is a resource.
Sydney,
You do not evaluate.
Yeah. Okay, listen.
Sydney,
I've already told
are
you that
some
I agree.
propositions?
Jack, I told you that I agree 100% with Down. Why do you ask me to?
So you think that all the propositions on Wikipedia are false? Is that right, Sydney?
And what the fuck is a proposition?
I didn't.
Look at the goalpost.
I didn't hear.
Talking to you.
I didn't hear Down say that.
I'm asking you a
He
question.
said yes and no.
I'm asking you a question, Sydney. Do you think all propositions on Wikipedia are false? Or do you think there are some true facts reported there?
Are you talking about the references to the source references for information?
I'm talking about anything that it says on Wikipedia. So
are you
if it
talking
says
about
George
the
Washington,
source information for
I'm saying if Wikipedia says that George Washington is the first president of the United States, is that necessarily false?
Wikipedia doesn't contribute any articles. Wikipedia is just a depository.
That's not the question I'm asking you, Sydney.
Well, then ask me a relevant question for
No,
for
it's
Wikipedia.
not a question of whether it's relevant
it is.
or not.
Yes, it is. Wikipedia doesn't do anything. Wikipedia is just there for others. So ask me.
I'm just asking you whether if Wikipedia says that George Washington is the first president of the United States, is that necessarily false because it's on Wikipedia?
On the face of what you said, I'd say no. Because based on the information that I already have, right?
You disagree with Down then.
Why would I disagree with Down? He's absolutely
Down
correct.
said the opposite of what you said.
No, he
Down
didn't.
said nothing is true.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Yes,
I never said that. I said that it is a resource. You cannot be evaluated on what's true or not
Exactly.
true.
Now I already have information on George Washington. So if I see it on Wikipedia and it already it matches the information that I have, which I know is true, certainly one that's been taught to me, then yeah, it's true. Well, I don't see what the problem is.
So Down, are some things on Wikipedia true?
Nothing on Wikipedia should be taken from Wikipedia. It needs to have a source. You follow the source.
So That's not the question, though.
Yeah, but Godriska, what you're doing is you're moving the goalposts, because
No, it's just
yes,
one
you
question.
are.
I don't even know
Yes,
what you
you
guys
are.
were talking about.
Like I said, hold on a minute.
I don't even know what you were arguing about.
Hold on a minute. I said that I already knew information on George Washington. Okay, so when I went to Wikipedia, I didn't go to it as my primary source. I just went to it there to sort of as a secondary or tertiary source. So what I think you guys are talking about is going to Wikipedia as a primary source. In other words, you have no facts, you know nothing, so you go to Wikipedia to find out, is that reliable? And in every case, I would have to say, no, it's not reliable in every case.
I can't be moving the goalposts since I don't even know what you guys were arguing about. When I first came to the room, the first thing I heard was the realistic nihilist asked down if there's some true things on Wikipedia. Not if the Wikipedia is reliable. That's not what was asked. He said, are there some true things on Wikipedia? And Down said no. So Down disagrees with you, Sydney, that there are...
No, he does not. No, he does not.
Yes,
What
he does.
the fuck?
You think that
So now you're gonna tell Sydney what he thinks and believes.
Sydney,
Exactly.
You know more than he
I
does.
can just sit back and stop believing because you'll just tell me.
excuse me for assuming what Sydney said was true.
Boy, both of you are really kind of wound up. What's wrong? What's with that room?
That's hilarious.
Sydney, I think we found somebody who loves Wikipedia as much as Rob Beasley.
Ouch, that must hurt.
Realistic. I'm going to link you to a book, and you'll love this book. It was totally written from Wikipedia. You will love this book. You should buy it. Hang on a second.
I bought it. Was it $4.99?
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. One sec here.
Look, it's got a cover and it's got
Fucking
content.
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened, baby. I'll tell you exactly what happened. So, I started talking about. He was asking about what mechanisms of evolution are in dispute, and I don't know how to answer that question. But I was saying that I dispute.
You can mute your mic while you tell her the rundown. We don't need to hear it.
No. I want to include you guys in the rundown.
No, we've already heard it though. We
No,
talked
okay,
to you for.
it's all right. Why not? Unless you got something better to say.
Yeah. So what I said to them was that I don't deny universal common ancestry, and then this fuck took that to mean universal common ancestry. He said, "Why should we accept that there's a single common ancestor? How does that explain all these differences?" And I was like, "Wait, are you asking me to explain how the theory of evolution works to you?" And he was like, "No, I'm asking you to explain what a universal common ancestor is." And so what I did is I went and I looked up the Wikipedia for universal common ancestry. And then he started saying that Wikipedia was not a reliable source. And then I was just like, well, what the fuck? Why would you doubt anything on that Wikipedia? Like, there's no motive to talk about.
Why would you doubt anything on that Wikipedia? Just saying that statement makes you sound ridiculous.
He thought that universal common ancestry had something to do with Adam and Eve.
Well, I was just thinking that before you said that just now, as you were talking, I was thinking he probably thought you were a creationist. That's how stupid.
Yeah, it's fucking
Is that
incredible.
what happened? You thought he was a creationist, Down?
I specifically said that people like Jim would use that to pervert science.
People like him, such as people like creationists.
I don't even know what Jim is. I think he's a devil, Sydney.
Yeah. Christian Hillbilly is a young Earth creationist.
No, Christian Hillbilly's a scientist.
I don't know what the fuck. These people are fucking wrong.
No, Sydney's right though. He is a scientist.
Yes, he's a scientist, but he's got sort of like he says science. Well, this is his understanding of science. Science kills atheism, and evolution is a lie.
Evolution is a lie from the pit of hell.
Straight from the pit of hell. Yes.
He rage quit.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. They were both very angry, very upset, very loud, very abrasive, very caustic. I'm not surprised they rage quit.
I mean,
Jack couldn't even get a word in.
Yeah, well, I was talking over Jack too, but at least we actually quiet. At at least we were able to give them a reliable source on Amazon from Rob Beasley with Wikipedia. You know,
That's probably why they left. They took it to follow up on that source and absorb it. Hillbilly from the YouTube side chat, Boil Piss. Hillbilly's a scientist? Fuck off! He's an ex-bus monitor.
Who said that? Who said that?
Boil Piss.
I love it.
And true story, yeah, no doubt. In fact, it is. But he brags that he's a teacher. And he teaches science to kids, to children.
How often do you hear me brag about that, even though I actually am one?
You never brag about it because you are one. Did he get fired for illegally counseling a young girl on the bus? Where is Christian Hillbilly? Get your butt in here. You got some sinning to explain.
Well, what I had heard is that somebody did call the school. It wasn't me. It wasn't Bulldog. Somebody did call his school when he was talking about how he used to pray on the bus and stuff.
Oh really? Oh really?
So next time we talk to Jim, we're gonna ask him about that.
Indeed, that's crazy.
I mean, I like how realistic is not winning the argument and then has to get his girlfriend involved to make him feel better.
But she comes in screaming and shouting just as loudly as he is. What's the deal with that?
Even louder, I would say.
Or even louder, yeah.
And then she comes in and she tries to move the goalpost. Oh, Jack's gone. I think we're losing friends.
Well, you know what? We're sticking to our principles. Nobody likes that at all. No one likes that. The fact that we're not allowing the fundies any wiggle room is, I think it's really annoying them. Really, really annoying them.
And see, what he did as well, though, is he also mischaracterized what I said with the universal common ancestor thing. It was the fact that Jim would hijack that is the point I was making with that. And actually, I don't know. I personally don't know. I personally do not know enough about that myself. I mean, obviously, we all came from the same amoeba. That's not really in debate.
Right. I mean, if even that itself, it doesn't really matter how far back you go, whether you go back to the fish or the amoeba, it doesn't matter. That's still a common ancestor.
Yeah. What I don't like is how people want to say that we all came from the same monkey, when in reality there's a huge mixture that they're still trying to. I mean, it was only recently, City, that they realized that we have Neanderthal DNA.
I understand that. I understand that.
And so that's why I'm against what he was saying, because he was trying to make it sound like we came from, not against what he was saying, but the way he was saying it, I guess. Trying to make it sound like we all came from the same monkey or whatever.
No, he was right in that we came from the same common ancestor, where you go back. I mean, you go back more than 6 million years in order to
see. But
that's where it branches off. 6 million years ago is where it branches off between the chimpanzee and the human and Homo sapiens. They kind of go their separate ways 6 million years ago. So there's a common or partial something in there that was always missing, but now they have found it in Ardipithecus.
Hey, Mike Owen.
An expert on evolution, Mike Owen, come on in.
There we go. I unmuted. I couldn't unmute earlier. Somebody had me like solidly muted. I couldn't unmute.
You just came in, so.
Mike, is this the official computer room / office of your humble abode?
It's a quasi man cave, like a redneck man cave. There's not much in it. It's just things that make me comfortable.
Are you down in what floor are you on?
The basement, where all men belong.
Yeah, excellent. Very nice.
It's kind of cold in the winter, though, so I probably won't be down here much then.
Yo, Sydney, this motherfucker gets like a whole townhouse with a basement for like $400 a month.
Well, look what he's got to put up with. He's got a wife. He's got kids. He's got a school system. He's got family bills. He's got responsibilities to feed this fucking family. The stress on this man is immense. I'm surprised he gets so little.
It's on a lot of men for a lot of different reasons. I don't victimize myself. These are choices I made. I decided I want a bunch of kids, so I did. And here I am. It cost me a lot of money. But that's all right. I try to keep under the wire, though, because if my kids do decide they want to go to university and destroy a good part of their thinking abilities, then the government will happily pay for it.
How will they be,
Absolutely. Send them to university.
how will they be destroying the thinking capabilities?
Right, because I think a lot of the ideas are in university just aren't as free. I think that people should disagree, and that's the only way people can learn. It's like walking.
That's what they do in university. That's the whole idea of that's what they get taught to do in university. Have you never been to university?
Yes, yes.
Then how can you make a statement like that?
Well, I was only the janitor, but I still went to the university. Well, because I do a lot of study on it, and there's some.
Do you?
I do.
Oh,
It's-
is that right? Do you wake up very early in the morning and like get 4 hours of studying in before you start the day?
I usually take a half an hour Bible study, and then
Bible study, no, but what about education?
I usually listen to professors that aren't allowed to be heard, like Jordan Peterson. That kind of.
Tell me about Jordan Peterson. I heard the name, but I don't know what he stands for.
Well, he was a professor at the University of Toronto, and some people just started to come up with these ridiculous things, and then this safe spaces thing. I can be born and have testicles and a penis and look exactly like a man, but I prefer to be identified as a woman.
This is news to us. I'm sorry to hear that, but whatever floats your boat, man.
It's rampant. It's rampant. What?
My lighter is right there.
I don't think so. I keep a backup lighter though, but I mean, there's 2 other lighters floating around the house somewhere. I don't know.
Come on, stick to the topic. Stick to the topic.
I think though that my son is going to the best university, and he's only 11. He's already been accepted.
Beautiful.
Yes, he goes to the University of the Streets and the People.
I see. And does he have a professor, like a main professor, or how's it work?
No, his professor is what?
Okay, so tell me more about your Bible study then.
Well, I just read pieces of the Bible.
What's the purpose? To calm you down?
Nah, to open my mind to different opinions.
Yeah, but why do you read the Bible if you want to open your mind?
Let's see, because it makes you look inward. Most people look outward and look for blame, but really, the Bible's all about looking inward. That's all.
Yeah, well, looking inward is not opening your mind.
Yes, it is. But if you think you can criticize other people's minds, you better be able to criticize your own first.
An open mind doesn't entail criticizing other people's minds. An open mind entails taking in information that might possibly be educational to you and change your mind.
Like a Bible.
No, a Bible is not education. A Bible is just literature. I mean, reading Shakespeare and reading the Bible is going to change your mind about as much as each other.
No, pictures. I learn more from pictures. So when I read about Galileo, I look at his designs and I try to think of what he must have been thinking when he came up with that idea, right?
Well,
You know.
I understand that, but you said you were studying the Bible, and when you studying the Bible is not reading Galileo.
For some people, the Bible is a dictionary. For other people, the Bible is a Martha Stewart novel.
Can we talk about your last Bible reading?
Well, yeah, you can, as a matter of fact.
Do that. What was it?
It was Psalm 23. 23, basically what it deals with is
Psalm 23, you said?
P-S-A-L-M, Psalm.
Psalm 23. I'll find it.
I read it from the beginning.
The Psalm of David, that one?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to read it to us and then we can discuss it?
It's too long to read.
I'll read it to you and then we can discuss it.
I read this one. This is the next one I was going to work on. Okay. The Bible, the New Testament according to Luke. I've been working on that one.
Well, that's I don't feel like reading that whole New Testament, that whole gospel. Would you like me to read the whole gospel?
No.
Will you promise me you won't fall asleep after one paragraph?
I might, but I only, just. But I take a half an hour, but I don't feel that I need.
What did you get out of Psalm 23?
That terrible people do terrible things, and if you do terrible things, then you do ask forgiveness, or at least be forgiving, and make up for your sins. There's not a nice place in heaven for you. That's it.
So you're placing your bet on heaven.
Yeah.
So you're reforming your ways so that you get into heaven.
Right. Here. Let me read you something. This is the Matthew, the New Testament according to Matthew. All right.
Which way? Where Matthew?
14.5. In the New Testament.
What do you 14.5?
This is called the teaching of the ancestors.
14.
It's page 41 in my my book.
Yeah,
it's
pretty. It's 14. What verse?
It's Matthew 14, verse 15.
Oh, okay. 14. Okay, yeah, I got it.
It's called the teaching of the ancestors.
Yes, okay, I got it. Yeah. Is it just that verse, or is it carry on?
Well, the Bible. It seems to carry on, and then you get done, and then you start all over again, right? So I don't know. I don't go around preaching religion or not.
So what does Matthew 14 verse 15 teach you?
Well, then some Pharisees and teachers of the law came from Jerusalem to Jesus and asked him, "Why is it that your disciples disobey the teaching handed down by our ancestors? They don't wash their hands in the proper way before they eat." Jesus answered, "And why do you disobey God's command and follow your own teaching?" So it's Jesus wasn't a big fan of the Jews. For God said, "Respect your father and your mother, and whoever curses his father or his mother is to be put to death." That's right. But you teach that if a person has something he could use to help his father or mother, but says, "This belongs to God. He does not need to honor his father." Right? In this way, you disregard God's command, and in order to follow your own teaching, you hypocrites, how right Isaiah was when he professed about you. These people say, "God, honor me," with their words, but their heart is really far from me. It is no use for them to worship me, because they teach man-made rules as though they were my laws. And that's a good psalm for an atheist.
Well, not really, because God does not exist. So when you mention God and all this kind of stuff, it's sort of, we start yawning and saying, "What the fuck is this guy talking about? There's no such thing."
That was the shortest verse I could come up with that made the hardest point.
Yeah, I know, but you're still relying on the existence of God to get your warm fuzzies from the song.
Yes.
Right.
No, that's Matthew 15:1.
I
The new.
understand that, but still, it's
I go for that.
again, it's literature words that make you feel good. Doesn't mean that Disney's real. It's just to make you feel good. Now, this is maybe the Tolkien of the times, but it's fiction nevertheless.
A piece of pie makes you feel good. A cup of tea for some people. Some people prefer coffee. Some people it's a glass of Coke. Everything that is good for you makes you feel good. That's it. A nice socks.
Yeah, but God doesn't make you feel good because God's a cunt, according to the scriptures. According to atheists, there is no God. God does not exist. So,
Yes.
so when you're appealing to a God that doesn't exist, it makes I get questions in my head that I haven't yet had answered before you carry on to your next topic. So
Well, that can be answered, dude. I ain't the dude to answer it because there's been people studying these things for thousands of years, and there's still no answer.
well, give me for example, to what is there no answer to?
What's that?
An example of what there is no answer to, that the Bible gives you an answer to.
Oh, there's for a lot of people, there's no answer.
For you.
Well, you're the only one that can teach yourself to understand. People choose to understand what they're gonna understand. And I'm the big believer in doing what Jesus did and going around and saying you're gonna burn in hell if you don't follow me. And say your morning and nightly prayers. I'm not one of those type of religious people. I just think that it's interesting, and I like the potluck. I like the potluck lunches. Plus, it's a good networking platform. So let's say if you're a guy who works with his hands, which I am. If you go to church, you got a whole bunch of customers there. A lot.
Well, if you go to church, you're expected to pay.
Just with respect, you don't have to pay anything. You pay if you can, and you don't have to pay if you can. You don't take money out of like something that's really important, right? Like milk in your fridge. You wouldn't take your milk money and give it to the church so they could buy milk and then give it right back to you. Doesn't make any sense. But every church is different. Every church is different. But I do believe that there is one God and He's a common God. And everybody's God, regardless of who that God is all the exact same God. And that's it. I believe that.
I understand that, but the reality, which is the universe we live in, has shown that it gets along quite fine without a God having done anything or having necessarily ever been around to do anything.
Yeah, no, but
because we have to rely on our senses and our common sense knowledge and our understanding of nature, physics, chemistry, etc.
Travel around Canada. Find me one atheist gathering place where only atheists go. It's not online. And then tell me how many actual churches you pass on the way looking for this non-existent place.
There are no churches. You won't find an atheist church on every corner of every town. There's no such thing as an atheist church. It's not a religion.
Yeah, it is.
How is it a religion? Who's the atheist God?
Well, no, atheists don't have a God.
Well, then Christians don't have a God.
They're not sure until they die, I guess. But the the fact is having no God is actually having a God.
All
Sure.
gods are imaginary. They stem
Sure.
from the imagination of early mankind.
I know, but you know, Santa Claus isn't real either. But the majority of people, the majority, like most everybody, celebrates Christmas, and they don't tell their little kids that Santa Claus isn't real, and that's really a very similar thing. Nobody knows that. They lose a tooth. They wait till their kid goes to sleep. They take the tooth from under the pillow. They leave them a buck. But one day they
Listen,
wake
nobody makes a living from teaching the tooth fairy dogma. People make a living from teaching the Christian or the Catholic or the whatever dogma. They don't make tooth fairy dogma. They don't make a living from teaching Santa Claus dogma. So
Yes.
whatever you're talking about there is not an analogy. It's nonsense. It's fairy tales.
So you're
Don't
telling
make fairy tales into a story about fairy tales.
So you're telling me that Walmart doesn't make a lot of money with fairy tales?
I'm telling you that the Vatican, the Pope makes a lot of money from the fairy tales.
Sure, but so does Walmart.
No, they make a lot of money out of selling bicycles and vegetables and cheese and canned goods and clothing, and they have concessions like McDonald's in there. They might have a post office in there. They don't only make their money from whatever you're saying. They make the Vatican, the Pope, makes his money from suppressing, from lying, from deceiving, from scaring 1 billion people 24 hours a day.
There with the Donald Trump Russia collusion lie. Nobody knows, and there's no evidence, and you can't say whether you're right, but it seems to me there's a hell of a lot more people that believe in God than the minority, very small minority of people who don't.
Well, in that case, I'd say that Allah wins because more people believe in Allah than believe in God. So you're going to have to change and become a Muslim because the majority of people are Muslim.
No, but the thing is...
Come on. Allah Akbar. I want you to repeat after me. Rahim
That's
I'm a ordained imam, an Islamic imam.
Allah.
Allah Rahim.
The reason you're talking over me is because you know what you said is wrong. Because
I know that Allah is the Most High.
No, he's not. Nobody's higher than God. There's only one God, and Allah's the exact same God as the one who...
No. Allah is... Jesus Christ is not a God. Jesus Christ is just a silly human being who thinks he's... a mythical human being who has a huge ego, and he's very arrogant, and that's what all the Christians are like that today.
He's dead, dude.
Okay, you're a Bible studier. Let me ask you. When Jesus Christ was crucified, when the alleged Jesus Christ was allegedly crucified, he was dead after he was taken off the cross. And he was put into a tomb apparently, and he was dead for 3 days. I got a question for you. Who was ruling the universe when God was dead for 3 days? Considering that, in your view, Jesus Christ is God, but Jesus Christ, in effect, was dead for 3 whole days.
Alright. Okay, do you want the answer or not?
Please. Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to answer that in a couple of different ways. What people used to die in the 17 and 1800s in the West, when they buried them, they would run a string and a bell into the burial coffin, and the bell would be put at the top of the grave because people were said to be dead all the time that weren't actually dead. Maybe he was just in a coma and woke up 3 days later.
In the 17 and 1800s.
No, I'm saying that's Western. You know, like
Yeah, but the question was, when Jesus was dead for 3 days, Jesus is God, and he's dead for 3 days. Who is ruling the universe? Who is making sure that the laws of nature, the natural laws, and the laws of physics, and the laws of chemistry are all
nowhere in the Bible.
abided by, that there's no violations of these laws?
Nowhere in the Bible will you read that Jesus is ever dead. He's never dead.
Then
He's
if you're never dead, what do you get resurrected from? Life?
no. You get introduced to a different version of it.
So what's the resurrection all about? So there's no resurrection if you're never dead.
That's right, because the spirits are everlasting.
Right. So there was no resurrection.
No, because he never died.
So he never died. So there was no crucifixion.
No, there was a crucifixion.
So he never died on the cross.
No, he didn't die on the cross. He was crucified on the cross, removed 3 days later, and then I guess came out of a coma, possibly. I mean, if you want to use.
Well, the way I understand it, he was crucified on the cross, which pretty much means he's dead. When he was dead, he was taken down and put in his tomb. And 3 days later, when they opened up the tomb, he was gone. Fancy that. Now the question is, why was he in the tomb for those 3 days? And he's God and he's dead. Who is running the universe if God is dead and unable to perform his godly duties?
Well, I don't think that non-believers can be convinced to believe, but there's only one way they can believe, and that's when you're dead.
But when there's no, that's not a real answer, because once you're dead, as we all know, the party's over.
But you're kind of suggesting that I should somehow have some sort of evidence for you,
yes,
on how God really does exist, and that is a typical Church of the Atheist attitude and question. It's bait, and it can't be answered. But the atheists will burn if I'm right and they're wrong.
See, that's a claim you make when you've lost the argument.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. The atheists will learn when they're right or wrong when they die. That's a claim that is laughable. It's clownish. Don't say things like that make us, because I can't laugh anymore. My sides are hurting.
My point is, to ask me to prove that God exists for you is just as ridiculous.
No, my original question was, why do you go to the Bible for to open your mind? Remember, I said to you, why do you go to the Bible when you want to open the mind? And all the Bible is doing is lying to you and closing your mind. No.
See, this is where the atheist mindset comes in again, which is usually wrong, almost always. You go, when I said open my mind, I didn't say open my mind to the Bible, and all of a sudden I'm going to go running around naked with a fucking Bible, on a church lawn. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Opening your mind is actually reading the Bible, rather than saying, I'm an atheist, so therefore I won't even give it a look. I won't even give it a second thought. See, I'm right. You're wrong.
Well,
and you have to prove otherwise.
I think it's very presumptuous of you to assume that everybody who says they're an atheist has done so before they've fully read the Bible or come to some kind of a conclusion based on all the evidence and facts and experiences that they've had throughout their lives, no matter how early or how young or how old they came to the conclusion. You've just made that assumption very clear.
Right. But let's say, for instance, if you're buying a house, do you walk down the street and look for the first for sale sign and just say, I guess that's the house I'm buying?
I do in certain circumstances, yes.
Well, sure. Maybe in some very rare cases, like
okay, well, there you go. So your question is not black and white. Or your answer is not black and white.
No, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Everything's gray. Everything is gray.
There's one thing that's not gray.
Your hair? Or is
my
it
hair's gray. No, my hair's gray. But God does not exist. all gods are imaginary. That's not grey. That's black and white. That's a fact. Evolution is a fact. It's as grey as evolution.
I don't know. I help old ladies across the street if it looks like they're having a hard time. Does that make me a bad person too?
Yes, it makes you an alcoholic.
If I see some kid getting beat up and I tell the other kid to get off of that kid, cut it out, you little shit, you're gonna hurt him. All right, you got him down. He's taking his whooping. Now, long. I don't go running and telling on anybody. I just say get off the kid or something.
Okay, so yeah, what's your point?
My point is that if you care about everybody, then that care will be returned 100-fold, especially after life.
But you see, this is the claim that you're making, that it makes your whole everything you say questionable. Because if you are claiming that there's an afterlife and you have no basis for your claim other than your wishful thinking, your expectation of an afterlife, yet you expect people like anybody else to take you seriously, then we don't take you seriously about anything.
No, you're being a pompous atheist and you're being ignorant. And you will not learn if you do not learn to accept.
Accept what?
I don't think you can even have a comeback to that.
Accept what? If I don't learn to accept
reality, the shit in front of your face.
How am I not accepting reality in your view?
Because you think you have all the answers, and anybody who has a different idea than you is some sort of fucking idiot. I believe the idiot is the one who's not willing to listen to other opinions, even if he disagrees with them. That's what fucking freedom of speech is about. That's what learning's about. That's what's wrong with universities, and that's what's wrong with you. Think about it. I'm not criticizing you.
No, you have the floor. Tell me what's wrong with me.
Well, not a lot, really. I just think that you should always keep an open mind, and keeping an open mind can sometimes be opening up a Quran. It could be opening up a Old Testament, New Testament. It could be opening up a pamphlet on a timeshare.
The problem, Mike, is that you're way behind. All these pamphlets, all these books have been opened and all been read. You're lagging. You're absolutely lagging.
No. You've made up your mind, and you've decided to go to the Church of Atheism, and I just go to a different church. And I don't hate your church for not liking mine.
You just said there's not an atheist church in sight in the whole of Canada. So now, you're claiming that I go to the Church of Atheism. You have just contradicted yourself 180 degrees.
No, you're making an atheist style argument again. Now,
hey Jim, how you doing?
The one I'm putting.
Quite well. How are you guys doing today?
I'm having a hard time keeping up with Mike here. He's not making any sense.
No, he's being a professional atheist, Catholic. He'd kill Jews if nobody saw him doing it. You know what I mean? He's a terrible person that way. But
well, there's no one better qualified than Jim, Christian Hillbilly, to defend me as a professional atheist.
No, I just think that I told him this. You give us your opinion, Christian, right? I just said that I was studying the Bible because I wanted to open my mind to different ideas. And he said, well, why would you read the Bible? Those aren't even ideas. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. It's like refusing to read a dictionary because you don't like writing stuff. I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. City, come on. You're a slow thinker, dude. Bastard. Come on. And what I mean by I've never seen an atheist church is because you're a very, very tiny minority of the entire population, and there's no call for an atheist church because there's just not enough of them in one area. So
how many do we need in an area to warrant a church?
Well, I guess I would base on the congregation, the financing.
How many in Galatia did it take to warrant a church in each village in Galatia?
Well, you need at least 500 people that are willing to come to your church at least on a semi-regular basis. And that doesn't mean they come every week. Everybody does. I'm just saying, if you got a pool of 500 that are willing to come to your church and be part of it, then it's like putting you wouldn't put a Walmart in the middle of a fucking cornfield, would you? Well, they do eventually, but I mean, there was nothing but the cornfield and one farmer. And Walmart would only sell to that farmer and run an entire Walmart to do it.
Oh, now you're being ridiculous. No, why would Walmart ever do that?
I'm making an analogy. I'm trying to simplify it.
Walmart is never going to build a Walmart in the middle of a cornfield so it can only sell corn to the fucking farmer. What are you talking about? I mean, this is the kind of fiction fantasy that Bible scriptural writers came up with.
My point is that's exactly why you never see an atheist church. There's just not enough customers.
Fact: the theory of evolution violates entropy, biogenesis, Mendel's law of genetics, spontaneous generation. You know, Jim, you do realize that Mendel's law of genetics came after Darwin, right?
Still violates the law.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you all still can't deal with biogenesis. How would you know? You can't get past the first bit of the science.
Hey, Jim, can you define entropy?
It depends on which entropy you're talking about.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, okay, yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I know what entropy is. It's a place where you don't put your penis in, like my ass. It's a no entropy.
Hey, Drunkazoid, when we want your opinion, somebody will actually put a quarter in your beer or something like that.
That's not a nice way to talk to a fellow Christian.
Yeah, and Christian, you're going to hell.
That man is no Christian.
He's
no Christian. I don't have to worry about him.
You're going to hell for the homosexual flag. You know that, right?
No, sir, I'm going to hell.
Well, yeah, you guys can hang out. You'll already know each other. It'd be kind of cool, right? Maybe you could put the cream on his skin to stop the blisters from burning of the fire.
Ooh, now you're getting all kinky on
me. You gotta wear mankinis too. I curse you both with permanent mankinis in hell. But I hope they make a decent beach, you know. I'd like to see you get a swim in every, once a year or something. Just for Christmas. Christmas Day. You gotta go for a swim. After your
So did you hear that Christian Hillbilly called you, you're not a Christian? He said to you that you are not a Christian. Do you say, okay? Mike?
Hey, what? I'm not a Christian, no.
Oh, so Hillbilly's correct. Well done, Hillbilly. You actually finally identified somebody correctly.
Identified you correctly.
I'm a Catholic, and Catholics are like, if you're a Christian, you're like on the second rung of the ladder.
Uh-huh.
Catholic, you're sitting on.
Catholics are not Christians, sir.
That's exactly it. But I'm just saying it's all the same God in the same magical world of.
The Roman Catholic Church has nothing to do with the Church of Christianity, the God of the Bible.
I know. And the
Look, Drunkazoid, do you not know what the Scripture says?
Yes, I do.
The Scripture says, if you love me, obey my commands. And the Scriptures over and over again are replete with Scriptures that say being a drunkard is a sin. So there, drunkard, repent, put away your beer, and worship God.
Dude, you get drunk on wine on Sunday and say, well, it's the blood of Christ.
No, sir, I do not.
Well, that's your problem.
No, your problem is sin, sir. And you trying to equate your behavior in the Roman Catholic cult as going to get you saved. That does nothing for you.
So you're another runner from actual religion, and so you go to one of those. Do you like kiss snakes too and shit like that?
Be silent there, Drunkazoid. Be silent.
Well, that's a valid point.
Yeah, it's a valid point. Do you drink the blood of snakes?
You jump up and down and sing really loud songs till everybody
do you spin round and round in place and toss your hair around and round and round like somebody who's in a trance, a Christian trance, where you connect with Jesus almost directly?
Well, that's the kind of nutty shit, Christian.
I connect with Jesus on a daily basis, Sydney.
So let
has
me
nothing to do with
this.
spinning around with a chair.
Okay, but let me understand this. So you've got the Catholics who are closest to God, and then below that you've got the Christians.
No, sir, they are not
Is that
closest
right,
to
Mike?
God.
I was talking to Mike. Is that correct, Mike?
No, the Jews are closest to God. The Catholics we're brothers in arms.
Okay.
And
yeah.
The Christians.
Well, let me know when you're done talking to Drunkazoid. I ain't listening to him.
I just want to get this. I just want to get the hierarchy here. You got the Jews and the Catholics.
And the Christians are exactly like atheists. It's not a real religion, and the Catholics and the Jews and a superior religion, real religions, believe that.
So Christian, Hillbilly, and myself, we're in the same kind of tier.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the Jews and the Catholics above, then you got the atheists and the Christians below.
That's right.
Okay. All right, Christian Hillbilly, go ahead.
And we let Muhammad hang around somewhere there. He keeps trying to sneak by the Jews and the Catholics, but we always push him back down.
5 o'clock, we'll give another 4 more minutes.
I think he's mad at me for not thinking Christianity is a real religion. I don't think it is.
Hold on a sec. You said that atheism is a real religion and Christianity and atheism are on the same level. So that's very contradictory. Now, coming from a Catholic, I understand the contradiction because Catholicism exists only because of contradiction.
Right. But the thing is, though, at least atheists can make a decent, valid point. Christians can't.
Well, that's because the atheist axiom is correct. The Christian axiom is a lie.
It's just a matter of opinion. Everything's just opinion. I might be wrong.
An axiom that we agree on is not an opinion. An axiom that we disagree on is neither opinions. We just don't disagree, and we have no basis to continue a debate if we cannot agree on an axiom.
That's true. It's not worth arguing with people that don't want to change, because when you are a person as the third coming of Christ, which is me, then there's some people that just won't believe.
The second coming before the third coming.
Oh, the second coming? That's Obama.
Oh, that's happened already, is that?
He's in the past now.
The Catholics are very smart in the way they think about stuff, huh?
Not really, necessarily.
So then why are they above Christians? Why are they above Christians?
Because they have more, way more history. They have their own entire country.
That's not a reason. I'm trying to get something that will make sense to everybody.
How did we know dinosaurs existed?
Let's not change subjects, shall we?
Oh, no, it's the same subject. Now, let me give you the answer, since I know you don't know what I'm talking about. Because they left prints in Alberta and, places like that, where there's clay, They left prints.
As far as I'm aware, dinosaurs are a myth. They never existed at all.
I was trying to switch on to the dinosaur topic. I'm just saying the Catholics not only have their own independent country, right, that has millions and millions of people that would protect it with their lives.
So the Jews have their own independent country as well. What's your point?
But no, my point is the Jews are smart as well, and they put their stamp around the world. And so when you drive down a street in almost anywhere in America, you're going to find a Catholic or, a real church,
The Muslims have many countries that are Islamic, not just one. Catholics have one, the Jews have one, the Muslims have many. So what's the point? Catholics are nothing.
No, the Catholics are the greatest religion conquering people of all time.
So they're the best army, is that what you're saying?
No.
The Catholics are the most vicious army on the planet, so therefore they're correct. Therefore they win something, and therefore because they were a winner and they've beaten everybody else and killed and hacked their way to the top, they are the true religion. Is that the way it works?
No. They're the superior religion. No religion is true.
Oh, I see. It's a matter of which fairy tale story you want to follow.
Well, a Bible could very well be Snow White and Seven Dwarfs.
How does that make sense?
It's just a story.
Yes, it's a story, but nobody lives their life according to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, according to the morality that the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs teaches to pass down from family to family to generation to generation.
I don't know. I think there's some people like that work at Disney World that dress like those people and they make a living doing it. I know I think.
Yeah, but they'd still make a living whether religion. If religion didn't exist, they would still make a living dressing up as Cinderella or whatever. It's irrelevant. So what you're saying is irrelevant. Stick to the topic.
Everything's irrelevant. But you mentioned though stories, and if you break down.
How about the topic of biogenesis, Sydney? Yeah, never got to that.
Okay, Jim wants to talk about biogenesis. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, Jim. Talk about biogenesis.
I'm sitting there asking you, Sydney.
No,
How
I
do
agree.
you deal
I agree
with the fact, the law, the scientific law of biogenesis that says all life comes from living matter, and yet you're an atheist that has to believe that somehow, some way, that non-living inanimate objects produce life. So how do you deal with that? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, the way I deal with the law of biogenesis, which says that all life comes from life, I agree with it. So that's how I deal with it.
I think that's a really good question.
So you're a hypocrite then?
No, I agree with. Do we not agree on that, you and me? And if we do, it makes me.
But sir, if you're going to agree on the fact that life always comes from living matter, then how can you have the position that life can come from non-living matter? The evolutionist experiments happen.
If I've said that life comes from living matter, how does it mean that I have a position that life comes from non-living matter? I can't have two opposing positions.
Are you not an evolutionist, sir?
I can't have two opposing positions.
Are you not an evolutionist?
I can't have two opposing positions at the same time.
Are you an evolutionist?
I can't have two opposing positions at the same time. That is illogical.
Oh yeah, you can, because you're conflicted in the mind. But I'm asking you a question. Are you an evolutionist?
I am, and I'm Catholic at the same time.
Sydney, are you an evolutionist?
How can you reconcile your evolution and your Catholicism as both being probable or possible at the same time? It's either one or the other, don't you think?
Because I don't.
Sydney, are you an evolutionist?
We're talking to Mike.
But I think
Drunkazoid will be there. He might not be awake, but he'll be there.
Excuse me.
Are you an evolutionist?
You were not, excuse me, Christian. You were not prepared to talk about the topic that you brought up. So now, because of that, I'm switching over. I'm switching over to Mike.
You're the one that refuses to discuss it.
I said to you, if you want to talk about biogenesis, here you go. Go ahead, talk about biogenesis. And
I'm asking you how you.
And all there was, excuse me, but all there was,
your position.
All there was
silence. Your position. How do you deal with that?
It's you were asked to talk about biogenesis.
Yeah, I know. It causes you to stammer too.
You were asked to talk about biogenesis. You were given the floor. There was a lot of time. Just waiting for you to talk, a lot of dead air. You didn't talk, so we switched over to Mike, okay? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, God of mercy and God of grace, I mean, you two should finally learn to disagree on something. Oh, did
Okay,
he?
let me ask you a question. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to show you something. I want to show you something.
This is my background.
That's
Like many
beautiful.
books.
Okay, now based on what you know about Christian Hillbilly and based on what you know about Christianity,
Yeah.
I would like to know from you, from what you've seen, whether it's today or prior, based on the traits of Christianity that'll get you into heaven, the traits of Christianity that'll ensure that you do not inherit the kingdom of God, where do you think Christian Hillbilly is going to end up?
Trailer parks?
Okay, well, let's say. Okay, now in order to get into heaven, there's got to be you've got to live the life of love. You got to
Yeah.
live the life of joy, and
Well, you got to buy your ticket ahead of
and
time.
patience, and kindness, and goodness, and faithfulness, and gentleness, and
They go on.
self-control. Now, which of those does Christian Hillbilly display to his, to the rest of the world?
Well, I don't know. I don't really judge them that way, but Christians are a weird kind of people.
Well, I'm not asking you to judge him. I'm asking you based on these traits, love and joy, etc. Which of those do you see in Christian Hillbilly?
All right.
Okay, okay. I know it's a difficult one, Mike. Let's do it
Well, I
this
was
way.
gonna say love.
Okay, Mike, here's a different one. This is difficult. I mean, this is different. It's a lot easier to answer. Which of these do you see in Christian Hillbilly? Now, these are the ones that will ensure that whoever lives the sort of life that includes these sins that I'm going to read out to you will not inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, you ready? Which of these do you see in Christian Hillbilly? Number 1, sexual immorality. Number 2,
I don't get that sense.
impurity.
He is a Christian rather than Catholic, so.
Okay, lustful pleasures.
Well, he doesn't have those. But
Idolatry.
I don't. Doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. I can't see women wanting sex with him, really.
How about Batman? Idolizing Batman.
Idolizing Batman. Well, it's a. Well, yes, it's just entertainment.
Is that idolatry though? Is that a sin according to the scripture?
I don't think so.
Okay, how about hostility?
Depends on the way you use it.
All right, let's go back to sorcery.
Oh, yeah. You shouldn't do that. You could open up gates. You don't.
Is Christian Hillbilly a sorcerer?
I don't believe he has. Steve.
Okay, how about is Christian Hillbilly hostile? Does he display acts of hostility?
He can be verbally hostile and somewhat easily triggered.
And is he? The next one is quarreling.
He likes to quarrel. That's
Okay, he quarrels a lot, right? He's very quarrelly.
Sure.
Okay, what do you think about jealousy? Does he display acts of acts of jealousy?
No,
I think he does, because he's jealous. He's jealous that he has to stick to his Christian story when he knows he's an atheist, and when he wants to be an atheist, and when he wants to be with us as atheists, but he can't because of his pride and his arrogance.
Well, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, let's say, I don't know, something really fucking terrible happened, and it just happened so by fucking random chance. There's Sydney, myself, and Down Corner all fucking trapped in a spot. Mm-hmm. And if Sydney couldn't do some things and pitch in, and I couldn't do some things and pitch in, and Down Corner didn't do his things to pitch in, they would probably all die. So, religion, to me, is that. It's not kneeling to some fucking imaginary god. There may or may not be one. I don't have the answer. But I don't, bow down on my fucking knees and start crying. I don't fall down and start rolling around and.
Well, it's all very well, but I wasn't intending to make this about you. I was talking about Christian Hillbilly. So the next thing
Christian Hillbilly's not even here.
He's watching. Next thing is outbursts of anger. And if he doesn't watch now, he'll watch.
I would
Outbursts of
call
anger.
it.
Do you ever see Christian hillbilly?
If you,
Do you think ever see Christian hillbilly display outbursts of anger ever?
no, I think it's more of an outburst of frustration rather than anger.
So rage quitting is an outburst of anger, in my opinion.
No, that's a temporary moment of frustration.
All right. Does he display any selfish ambition?
He wouldn't be a human being if he didn't.
I would submit that he does, and this is what it is. His selfish ambition is to be a street preacher and disrupt and troll the public. That is selfish. It's his ambition, and it is a sin. Okay, how about dissension?
It's not a sin. Where are you getting this cockamamie?
It says there, selfish ambition is a sin. So dissension. Do you see dissension in the character of Christian hillbilly?
Let me answer your last question first, though. Just back up the bus one second.
All right, no problem.
It's not selfish ambition. If you're doing that thing like preaching for the betterment of other people and not yourself. If you're doing it for yourself, then it's selfish ambition. But if you're doing it because you would hope that other people would learn, I don't know, maybe some of the things that you hold dearly, that's not selfish. That's sharing experiences, which is not selfish.
But that's what churches are for. That's exactly what churches are for, to go and learn stuff. Not street preaching is trolling. It's like a troll on the internet is annoying. A troll on the street is fucking annoying just as much. But let's carry on. Let's carry on. Okay. Dissension. He's very much guilty of this heinous sin. How about division? He even causes division amongst Christians.
But
you know that, you've seen it, you've heard it.
All of the things you're listing are things that if you continually do them, that was the important part of the statement you made. And
exactly. Thank you, Mike. That's exactly why I'm presenting it, because he continuously does it. All right. So, division. What?
Well, I've only known him for a speck of his life.
I'm not presenting him from your point of view. I'm presenting him from my point of view, and I've known him for years. It seems like it. Years.
Right. But
Down Corner's known him for 3 times as long as I've known him.
Right. Well, he does got his opinions. He's
as you know, I agreed with what Down Corner said about it. I want to continue with this graphic here, because we're almost done. So, do you think that Christian hillbilly displays any acts, or has displayed any acts of envy, as that you've seen?
Not
really. Drunkenness? Have you ever seen hillbilly drunk?
No.
How about wild parties? Does hillbilly have wild parties?
I cannot answer that question.
Well, I can. Every time he says "yeehaw," that's a signal of a wild party, isn't it?
It depends on your.
Yeehaw is the signal. Is the global signal for a hillbilly wild party. Yeehaw. Yeehaw, that's exactly what it is. So yes, the answer is yes to that one. And what's more important, this is it. Other sins like these.
Rodeo.
Okay, so it's not limited to what I've said, but other sins like these, and there's lots that Christian hillbilly has to answer for and is guilty of. And then it carries on. It says, I'm reading the scriptures here to you. Let me tell you again, as I have before, that anyone living that sort of life will not inherit the kingdom of God. Now, assuming that I am one of these people who will not inherit the kingdom of God, and hillbilly is one of these people who will not inherit the kingdom of God, hillbilly has quite nicely and kindly supplied me with a photograph of where I'm going to be when I die. Or so, should I say, where me and Christian hillbilly will be when we die, because both of us are going to be in this burning lake of fire for eternity.
Well, that's what Christians think. And I don't think so. I think it says if you live a life. Now,
that's exactly what I said. He's living the life. He comes in every time, every hangout, every chat room, everyone, and he disrupts. He annoys. He does. He's hostile. He's quarrel. He's jealousy. He's jealous if somebody knows more than him, and it just so happens that everybody knows more than him. So he becomes.
Did you ever think though that a lot of the way he is might come from the people he lived around when he grew up, and he was a young, influential boy and a young man. And possibly that person who I don't dislike today ended up to be that guy. And he just wants to, he's probably most of the shit regurgitating the same shit he heard.
Are you talking about John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah. He was very similar. They think inward, but they think too inward. But everybody has to think inward from time to time. But if you spend all your time thinking inward, well, that's crazy. That's a crazy person.
But that contradicts what you said earlier. You said you read the Bible, so you can sort of look inward.
Yes.
You said that.
Right.
But now it's crazy.
No. I said if you do it all the time, but sometimes you need to look inward. That's what I said.
I got it. But your reading consists of the Bible. So whenever you need to look inward, you read the Bible. In fact, whenever you need to read anything, it's the Bible. So you're extremely
biased.
biased.
Need to read it. I read the back of a battery pack, to see, what the
to see what it tells you when you look inward.
And yeah, maybe I can learn something. Like, it's the invention of a widget. Have you ever invented a widget?
I invented a widget, yeah.
I have.
I've invented one.
Well, that's thinking inward.
Yeah, I invented it in my head. And I even manufactured it, and I exported it, and I marketed it all in my head. It was very profitable. Let me tell you something. I was able to buy an island somewhere in my head.
As long as you were happy there.
Ah, it's beautiful. The temperature's always idyllic in my head.
But sure.
See, it's all in your head. If it's in your head, it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not in everybody's reality. It's in my reality. It's in my head.
Oh, as soon as it's in your head, it's reality.
It's my reality. It's not a universal reality.
Depends who you can convince to drink the Kool-Aid.
What Kool-Aid are you drinking that you've been convinced to drink?
No, I was referring to that thing where the guy gave all the Kool-Aid to all the maniacs there. He had to run away from the States, and then I'm assuming
that you get all your thinking, your intelligence from whatever you drink. I drink milk.
You consume milk. I am not a disliker of milk.
What do you like?
But, that's a stupid question. You know me better than that.
No, I said okay. If you think my statement is wrong, then refute my statement.
No, I'm not saying you're what. How is liking milk wrong?
Well, I'm saying I keep healthy through drinking milk in order to absorb, to have a living body to absorb the information that I do absorb, and also to keep rational and logic and sane, etc., etc. I find milk and cheese, dairy products, and vegetables, stuff like that help me.
If I could have one thing that I could have to drink, and nothing more than that for the rest of my life, it would be water, hands down.
Yeah, but that's not anything. You don't have a choice. You don't have a. It's not taken away from you. So you don't have to sort of sit there and dream about it. Just drink the fucking stuff.
Well, yeah, but milk is 90% water.
I'm not saying don't drink water. I never said drink 4 cups of water a day or whatever. No problem. No shit.
I didn't say I'm gonna go on some fucking water regimen. What I said was if I had nothing else that I could drink, and that was it, and I could never have.
I wasn't asking you an if question. I was asking you a now question.
Right now,
Yeah. How
yeah,
do? Okay, let me rephrase the question. I drink milk and then I read and absorb knowledge, or absorb data, so I can achieve knowledge. Okay. You drink beer. How do you drink beer and at the same time manage to absorb and process data to achieve knowledge?
because there's a slight, it changes your mind a little bit. Milk makes your mind sleepy and probably is not really that great for something, a warm glass of milk before you sit down and fall asleep reading a really shitty book, right? But when you have beer, you're not the same person after 3 that you were before 3. The milk doesn't change you mentally. Milk, as a matter of fact, too much milk is probably worse than too much beer. Do you want me to explain why that's true?
Well, I'll explain that you're projecting. You're thinking that because you drink too much beer and I drink milk, therefore I drink too much milk, and that's a false projection.
No, but if you point out to me that
I have never indicated to you that I over or abuse milk and drink too much milk.
I'm just saying,
and I don't. I really don't.
If it's the first thing you mentioned, I figure you probably do. It's just a matter of
I'm correcting you in that I don't. I probably don't drink enough milk, but I do drink milk.
Right. But you eat a lot of cheese.
What I'm saying, if I do drink milk instead of drinking beer, let's say.
Yes, so.
And when I'm on this drug of milk, I then go and I do some research, some studying, and some focusing on something that I want to know anything about. Okay?
I would recommend for somebody.
I don't understand how you can do that on beer.
Well, because you don't drink, I guess. So I don't expect you to understand. And I don't think I could give you a straight answer that you would understand. So it's a dead end road. And I don't think there's a conversation to be had there. Once again, I'm right, you're wrong. Moving on. Next subject.
What's the next topic? Down.
What's your favorite car from the 50s?
My favorite car from the 50s? I was too young to notice any cars when I was
Well, let's say you've seen movies and stuff, and you've seen other older cars, maybe a car shows walking by a dairy.
To be honest, I'm not a car aficionado, and I couldn't tell you a car from the 50s. Well, I suppose I could, but I couldn't tell you makes or anything on lines, and I know shit about cars from the 50s.
Well, my favorite car is a 55 Chevy. For a lot of people, it's 57 Chevy. You got the Bel Air people, and there's a lot of really cool cars. And the beauty of them was the design that was put into them and how they, when they first were coming, where jets were becoming popular, thing. You'd see a lot of jets. When people first saw jets, they go, "Wow, look, it's a jet." But now you see so many jets.
Well, if they saw it for the first time, how would they know it's a jet?
Because somebody said there's going to be a jet flying over in the newspaper.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's how it worked back then. Didn't have the internet. A lot of people only had black and white TV, and if you wanted to find out what the heck was going on around you, or at least somebody's opinion of what they see that is. Laura, can you grab that? I'm not here.
We can vouch for that. Mike's not there at all.
I just don't like when people, oh, you left?
No, not yet. I'm just.
I was talking to Lars. Somebody rang the doorbell, and I hate that when people just cold call.
I hate that too.
Me too. I don't know. It's just fucking, who doesn't like that, right? And then I tell her I'm not here, and then she always ends up.
I just don't like when people.
I'm like, oh, you left? Didn't you understand about I'm not here?
Oh yeah, I'm just.
It means I'm not here. Are you coming? Oh, I'll go ask him. Well,